So, who is Clive Edwards? What is this channel about? Well, let's go and find out. So I'm a carpenter by trade, and I used to run my own construction business. That is, until I ran into trouble with the local council's planning department about how I was using my field. I used to use this field to store trailers and building materials, and the council did not like it. One day, the head of the council's planning enforcement department said that by using the field as a builder's yard, I was in breach of planning controls. This was about to drastically change my life. So I had all of these problems going on with the local council's planning department. Then unbelievably, HMRC estimated that my construction company owed them in the region of £60,000. All of this was happening at the beginning of the Great Recession of 2007-8. I just could not see a way forward. The recession was starting to bite hard, work was getting harder to find, and I simply did not have 60 grand. I felt like I was under attack from government from all angles. If the council was successful in shutting my storage yard down, that would have effectively ended my business. It would have meant relocating, paying yard rental, which would have drastically increased my prices. I was in all kinds of problems. This was a very, very bleak period of my life, and it felt like I was staring at the end. They say it is always darkest just before the dawn. Well, things were dark, and I couldn't yet see the possibility of the dawn. Little did I know at the time, however, that this would be an amazing turning point for the direction of my life. These serious legal issues that I was facing from HMRC and the local council meant the loss of my business, possible imprisonment and bankruptcy. I was being forced into opening not only a new chapter of my life, but a completely new book altogether. As these legal problems mounted, I shelved my construction business and began to devote my time to studying the law. I had to. What choice did I really have? My future depended on being successful against these government bodies, and yet I knew absolutely nothing about the law. Nothing. How could I possibly win? I'm a simple guy, and I had to work through these legal issues in a simple and logical manner. The council were causing me problems. They said that I was a customer, and so did HMRC. And neither of these government departments would call me by my Christian name, but instead they insisted that my name was Mr. Edwards, and this was not true. I did not believe that I was a customer, and that was not the name my parents called me. I naively remember thinking at the time that there were many Mr. Edwardses in my family. How do I even know this is about me? So I started to ask these simple and logical questions, and these mighty authoritative government bodies could not answer them. This to me was strange. This instinctively felt deceptive. Why can't they answer my very basic and childlike questions? To stand any chance in this battle, I had to begin to understand how we're being governed. But where on earth do I start? I decided to start by studying the council's enforcement policies. And I also began to look at the top state actors and see what they did. They all swore oaths and invoked the Bible at their ceremonies. I then started to realise what being a Christian country meant, and that the Bible and God have a significant influence on how the state is run, potentially even my own legal situation. I began to understand why those in high offices of state swear an oath. An oath invokes something higher than mankind. So for the first time in my life, I bought a KJV 1611 Bible, because that's what's authorised by the state. I started to read some of the Bible. I eventually found a passage that immediately resonated with me. It was Job 32:21-22. Let me not, I pray you, accept any man's person, neither let me give flattering titles unto man. For I know not to give flattering titles. In so doing, my Maker would soon take me away. This was my eureka moment. This point changed my life. I could now see what the Bible was telling me, and for the first time, I could see why the council insisted on giving me one of their titles. The council used to constantly write to me, but when I wrote back and quoted Job and insisted they use my Christian name, things started to change. They didn't reply for months. This gave me more time and breathing space to research and learn even more. Every day I studied. HMRC and the council's grip on me was starting to loosen, and I could feel it. I knew that this book, the Bible, was not only extremely important for matters of the state, but also for my own life. I began to see that the Bible might hold some of the answers to my questions, such as, where did the council gain their authority to rule? I began to realise that being a citizen of the state was not good in the eyes of God, as it breaks the very first of the 10 Commandments. Could this be why citizens are treated so badly by the state? Do the state get us to sin and then punish us for that sin? I started to include some of this newfound information from the Bible in my correspondence to the council and HMRC. I began the fight back, and to my surprise it was having a real effect. This encouraged me to read more and more. So the council had issued me with 9 planning enforcement notices, and failure to comply with a single notice is an indictable offence with an unlimited fine. At the time when this started, I had no idea how serious this matter was. An indictable offence means it is potentially a Crown Court matter and a potential prison sentence if the notices are not complied with and the fines are left unpaid. This path I had decided to walk was a very lonely and narrow one. Everybody that I knew said that it could not be done. Added to that, I did not know anyone that had done what I was attempting to do, or who had been successful doing it. This road is strewn with many broken dreams. My task was huge, but I knew that what they were saying was not true, and they still hadn't answered my simple basic questions. Why? I needed answers. To recap, my initial childlike questions were, why do you say that I'm a customer, and why won't you call me by my Christian name? And why do you insist on giving me a title and saying that my name is something that it's not, i.e. Mr. Edwards? These questions went unanswered by the council and HMRC. I found out that they went to the very heart of law and governance, to the nucleus of what it means to be controlled by the state. Because who names you is of the utmost importance at law, and how I was seen as a customer goes to the very heart of what it means to be a citizen of a country. Both of these aspects break some of the 10 Commandments of the Bible. In brief, your father gets to name you, and we all should know to follow the rules of our father's house whilst we're under his roof. A lot of us have heard that expression, and that's also true for the state in biblical matters. That's why there's a House of Commons. The state effectively becomes the father, and that's why the state gives you another false name, i.e. Mr. Edwards. These finer details on how the state control its citizens are explained in my articles at my website. Links to everything will be in the description below. The United Kingdom is what is known as a body politic, which is a fiction of the law. Being a citizen of that body politic makes you a franchisee, a customer. My childlike questions expose these things. But to be fair, most council and state employees have no idea either why they would call me a customer, or why they would call me by this non-specific legal name, Mr. Edwards. I started to enjoy my passion, and in fact I love the study of law and governance because it gave me freedom. Every day I learned something new, and the more I understood, the more these authorities backed away from me, which only fed my confidence in knowing that I was finally on the right path. I began to see how the legal system tricks, traps and gains authority over its citizens. I knew that my knowledge of the system was growing, but I was lacking in one key area: court experience. I knew that I had to get myself into court one way or another. I did this on 2 fronts, one by assisting others with their cases, and 2 by getting myself into court over minor traffic violations such as speeding offences. I saw these court cases as sparring sessions with the Crown. I felt that I needed these sparring sessions if I intended to win my own fight, and to lose the fear of court. So next I went on to a planning discussion forum. I told everyone on the forum, you don't need planning permission, and here's why. The forum erupted. My posts and comments on this forum soon became very popular. So much so that the moderators eventually dedicated a section of their forum to my topic of law and governance. The forum was used by a wide section of society, from solicitors and planning professionals to farmers and smallholders. Because I was able to fend off the questions from all comers single-handedly in a reasonable, logical and commonsensical way, I soon had many farmers and smallholders approach me for help with their planning issues and court appearances. These cases were taken on the proviso and understanding that I was not legally trained. Because of the path that I have walked, I have amassed an enormous amount of knowledge about the workings of the legal system, and therefore I understand very well how these so-called authorities gain their control and power. And I understand how the common man can gain that power back. These court cases took me on a journey around England, from Cumbria down to Cornwall and eventually to the High Court in London. In the early days, success was varied, but I was learning an awful lot about how the legal and court systems worked. This was an invaluable experience. As my knowledge and understanding of the court system grew, so did the successes, one of which culminated in defending Mr. Fiddler from Surrey. This was the most famous planning case in the UK at the time, the case of beef farmer Rob Fiddler, who built a castle and hid it behind hay bales. At the time, the case was all over the national news. Rob had heard about the work that me and a friend were doing in the courts around England and asked if we could help him, because his barristers had abandoned him as his next case was a committal hearing at the High Court for failure to take down his castle. We were tasked to keep Rob out of prison in spite of the odds. And we did. So turning back to my own planning case, the council had hired a specialist expert in planning law to tackle me. With all of my court experience, I was now very confident in my position, so I asked for a meeting with the council's new expert. I asked David a series of simple questions such as, can the council force themselves to be my authority? He said no, they cannot. Is it illegal not to have planning permission? He replied no, it is not. I asked David if I was allowed to have a private life, something that is mentioned in their own constitution. He confirmed that yes, I was entitled to a private life. There was a bit more to it than a few simple questions, but effectively the council's own planning expert has now just agreed with my case against them. David asked me one last time if I would like to apply for planning permission as the council might look upon it favourably. I said that I had gotten just fine without asking the council for anything up until now and politely declined his offer. I asked the expert if the council would like to take their case before a judge. David said that the council would not be taking me to court. He left his post at the council a couple of months later. I have heard no more from the council, despite continuing with the building of my small holding without permission. Although I was successful with my initial legal issues with HMRC and the council, I have continued with my studies and sparring sessions against the Crown. I am still trying to find the limits of the state's legal control. These sparring sessions, of course, carry the serious risk of imprisonment, but it's the most effective way that I know of to truly learn about how we are governed. I continue to help and assist many others with their legal troubles in many various ways, mainly in keeping people out of court altogether. It's my assertion that if you're at court, you are making the wrong arguments, and I'm living proof of that. I have been looking for a way to help many more citizens to understand the system of law and governance, to help citizens like I was back in 2007 who have no knowledge of the law. Currently, there is no serious platform out there for the citizen to learn about how they're being governed, so I decided to do something about it. Then, in the winter of 2023, with the help of my website Guy Slim, my website capillarywave.com was launched. The aim of the website is to help the common man understand how law and governance truly works and how it affects us. So what is this YouTube channel for? Well, you aren't going to understand about the system from Sky News or the BBC, nor from any of the politicians or political commentators we see every day on X, or Twitter as it was formerly known. Do you really think that they have the answers that can help you? That hasn't happened so far, has it? That is the Punch and Judy show designed to keep you engaged with their system of control, and I do not subscribe to that nonsense. That is all there to distract you from learning and understanding what is really important, such as how you are being controlled and why. The information which is publicly available at my website will save you wasting valuable years on the countless dead-end arguments that are out there. My YouTube channel, therefore, will also continue with the discussions of law and governance that has been started at my website. I will be putting videos out there which explain various aspects of the law. On the practical side of freedom, I will also be showing you some of the projects that I'm doing at our small holding, all free from government control. My aim is to show you, the viewer, what can be achieved when we step away from government control and citizenship. I never said it would be easy, but it can be done. I feel that I am able to explain the system of law and governance in great detail because I've risked everything to test it all, to see where the edges of it are and to see where the limitations lay. I have risked my own freedoms in doing so. Every legal argument that I have had since 2007 with the Crown I have successfully defended, so much so that the Crown do not wish to take me on, and I have tested their system to its limits. I hope to inspire ordinary citizens to take back control of their lives and to take action to protect their loved ones. Of course, you will not have to go to the extremes that I have, but in leaving government control, you will be tested. I understand very well the solutions to the legal problems many of you are facing, but I cannot fight that battle for you. I can only show you how the system works. There is no template letter that can help you. Only a true understanding of the system that you are controlled by will bring you success. From understanding comes knowledge. From knowledge comes confidence and wisdom. For me, the time for debating is over. I am not interested in debating, and why would I want to debate when I have actually done the thing? And we have the end result. I am free of government control because I have implemented what I have learned. Debating for me is now redundant. I am only interested in explaining the solutions because I understand and know what they are. I want to see people succeed. I want to see the electorate return to their highest power, that being one of the people. At my website and this channel, you will hear from someone who has been there and done it. That is something that I myself never had. I never truly knew that living free of government control could be done. I just had the faith that what I was learning was right. Becoming successful on this path will require a determination and diligence to succeed. When there is no path in front of you, you're going to have to make one. Few have walked this walk, and the path is a narrow and overgrown one. You will find yourself in uncharted territory. How are you going to deal with that? When this happens, you will need to clear the way and think on your feet. The crown will be snapping at your heels and trying to persuade you to turn back. There is no template letter that can help you. Only an understanding of what you are doing and why you are doing it. A new conviction. You cannot template freedom. You do, however, have a light and an instruction book. It's called the Bible. This will guide you. In fact, it documents others who have done similar things. At law, there is only the legal system of man and God's lawful system under the Bible. And the legal secular system stands in opposition to the biblical one. That's why everything in the world is opposite, back to front and upside down. That's why right is wrong and wrong is right in man's world, because it's in opposition to the biblical doctrine. My articles explain this. You are either in one camp or the other, under God or under man, and no man can serve two masters. There's nowhere else to go, no other system of law to live under. These are your choices, and by default, most of you watching this will be under the rule of man, as I was. You, like me, have been on the government-run duck farm for most of your life, taking the benefits from the duck farmer. You might now be beginning to realise that you are not in fact a duck, but are actually a swan. With your new realisation, you might feel that you do not really fit in with the other ducks. You might realise that the farmer is merely keeping you distracted whilst he feeds you up ready for slaughter. Any citizen can leave the duck farm. There is no lock on the gate. It all comes down to a change of mind. You once believed that you were a UK duck, but now you can see that you are a swan that doesn't belong on that farm. I want you, the viewers, to start to realise that the information which I give freely via my articles at my website can be the building blocks for your own freedom. It is not easy and it's not going to happen overnight, but it can happen with determination, dedication and the KJV 1611 Bible. Thank you for your support and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Could sail around the world without me, or you could let me down and set yourself free, but it wouldn't make any difference, you see, because of all the things you've done. You're just waiting for the sun. You're just waiting for the sun. Waiting for the sun.